All right. Hey, everyone. Sorry about running a little bit late. I had a conversation with my son about something, so that took me a little bit longer than I thought it was going to take. But we are back. So, obviously, Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin, we're down today. Not a great day for us. Not a great way to start, basically, September for us. But what we do have on the plate for today is going to be Bitfarms, Cleanspark, Cipher reporting their August numbers. We also have a open letter from Riot, kind of spanking Bitfarms a little bit for doing things that they may not approve of. We'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at what's going on with miners as well. We'll get into all the details here. So I greatly appreciate you guys coming in here. But as always, you guys know the drill. Not financial advice. For entertainment only. Please do your own research. Invest in flying companies for full disclosure. And all the disclosures are below that as well. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin here. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of breath. I was running downstairs really quick just to get in time here for it. But here's what we got. Bitcoin is down today. It's down a little bit more in the after hours or the new day as well. We were down 2.82% on the day. We're down 1.31. We were down a little bit lower than that. So it looks like our support at 57,500 is not holding. We are below it right now, so we might come back down to our 53,000 mark. Some people are calling that we might come down to like 40,000. I'm like, no, I don't see that happening. In September at least, unless we get a black swan event or something like that would have maybe cause it, but I just don't see it right now. I think we're going to probably bounce between, maybe if we do bounce, we're going to bounce between the 57,000, what is that, 700 mark and the 57,500 mark. So somewhere around there, we're going to maybe bounce off of that, come back up. We'll see. Right. We still have this month of September. Historically, has not been great for us. But the miners also did not do great today as well. Cleanspark was down quite a bit because of the news from Friday that they are increasing the number of shares that's going to be available to them to eventually, potentially down the road, use for ATMs as well and for stock-based compensation, all that stuff. So that had quite a negative impact on Cleanspark shares. I did buy today Cleanspark, Bitfarms, and IREN as well. I went shopping today. I actually kind of dipped into my little emergency fund a little bit to do it. I'm like, okay, I have some emergency fund. I'm like, things are just going down so much. I'm like, they're at a great price right now. It looks really appealing. I'm going to dip into that. I can always sell shares if I need to, if something happens to, my house or something like that, where I need to pull money out in that case, but I don't see that happening. My house is still relatively new. It's about 8 years old. So I think I'll be okay there. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. The miners, like I said, were down quite a bit. ANY was down 9.8, almost 10%. Argo was down 10. Digital was down 12. BitDeer was down 8.2. Bitfarms was down 9.2. Cipher was down 8.8. Cleanspark was down 15.6%. CORZ was down 8.9. Digihost down 6.3. DMG down 7.4. Hive down 9.9, almost 10%. HUD 8 down 10%. IREN down 12.7%. Marathon down 8.6. Mawson down 9.2. Riot down 9.9, Stronghold down 8.7, Wolf down 12.3. So today was a sale day. If you had the cash and you got into these miners, it was definitely a good sale to get into them. We'll see how tomorrow is going to be for us, especially with Bitcoin being down in the after hours and the new day for Bitcoin. Right now, if we look at not that one, I wanted to look at the now cash rate on Bitcoin right now. You can see on the 7-day, it's coming back up here to 651 exahash. On the 30-day average, this is going to be important for us because on the 30-day average, we're back up to 637 exahash right now. And then we started the month out at, let's see here, we were quite a bit lower here. So August 1st, we started at 615 exahash at that point. And give me a couple of seconds here. I got to turn off my heater and my water heater as well. Hold on. All right, I'm back. I had to turn those off because those are going to be in the background noise there. So as I was saying, that we've had quite a substantial increase in network hash rate. So we were at 615. We finished out the month at 630. So we were up 15 exahash roughly on the month here. We also saw an increase in the difficulty for the network as well. That's why we're seeing some of the miners, even though they increased their hash rate, which we'll get into here in a little bit, their numbers were down for Bitcoin production, but we've also seen I think it's this one. Is this it? The transaction fees being down as well. Hash price index, it's actually this one over here. So if you look at the last month here, roughly, we can see that we were like at 7 to 8 BTC per day on average, compared to if we look at the last 3 months, we were much higher at that point as well. So we saw a substantial decrease in transaction fees for Bitcoin, which also contributed to the miners being down on production for Bitcoin. I saw that with Bitfarms, I saw it with Cipher, I saw also with Cleanspark as well, even though they had pretty good increases in hash rate. Some of them did, but the production of Bitcoin was still down. But like I said, we'll take a look at that in a second here. All right, so that's it on that. If we look at some of the stories that we do have here and where Bitcoin is right now in September, we're down 1.94% as of like 15 minutes ago when I refreshed this. On the daily, right now, let's see if we refresh it right now. Yeah, we're still down 1.94% on it. So it's not looking too good right now, at least for Bitcoin. Okay. Now, let's get into some of the press releases that we do have here. First one is going to be on Riot. And I kind of stated that Riot is spanking Bitfarms a little bit here. I mean, Riot's trying to be like this adult in the room here with Bitfarms supposedly, and they're not pleased with their actions, and they're kind of spanking Bitfarms a little bit here. But let's take a look at what they had to say here. A couple of things to note here that were interesting that I saw was that Riot has reduced the proposed slate of new directors from 3 to 2 in light of Bitfarms' recent moves in response to public pressure from Riot. And I don't know if it was... I'm sure that was part of it as well, but I think they needed to have a change in the Bitfarms board regardless. So that's good, right? So they are reducing the amount of board members that they want to include in there. And then they also warn here, they warn Bitfarms not to take any additional actions to entrench the existing board prior to October 29th special meeting. I mean, how are they going to entrench? I think, they got rid of the people that they wanted really to get rid of. They got Fanny Phillip in there, which I think is a great get. They state down below that they want to actually get rid of Fanny. I'm like, why would you want to get rid of Fanny? Fanny has a great background. She's in the Canadian mining space as well. It's like, why would you want to do that? But I can see why, because she might be there to actually help Bitfarms navigate this whole thing and prevent them from being taken over by Riot as well. So that I can see why Riot would want to get rid of her, but we'll get into it here. Okay, Riot currently owns approximately 19.9% of Bitfarms, so they bought some more shares, it looks like. Let's see here. Further board changes as needed. They talked about getting rid of Emilio Grodzinski and Nicholas Bonta. Both have been either kicked out or resigned. And then let's see here. Bitfarms subsequently appointed Fanny Phillip to replace Mr. Grodzinski. I can't pronounce his name. Appointed Ben Gagnon as chief executive officer and a member of the Bitfarms board to replace Mr. Bonta, and made other executive leadership changes, which were a good thing. So those are all good things that Bitfarms is doing here. So Riot goes on to say, while these changes represent a step in the right direction, they have been reactive and insufficient to address Bitfarms' broken governance. Well, how can you say that they were changes in the right direction, but still they're broken? They got rid of the people that they wanted to get rid of originally. Riot wanted to get rid of those people. They got rid of those, and they're still not happy with it. So it's like, regardless of what Bitfarms does, Riot's not going to be happy unless they are able to buy them out or acquire them or whatever, just do a hostile takeover on them. And then considering the following examples of Bitfarms board defensive posture and prioritizing entrancement over engagement. Well, over engagement to what? Are they supposed to ask him for permission on everything that they do? No. Right? Riot chose to buy the shares in Bitfarms. They chose to do that. They chose that they are going to try to add board members on there. But I think Riot also needs to take a look in the mirror a little bit here and try to fix their own issues that they have. I'm pretty sure a lot of shareholders are not happy with them in the last 52 weeks as their performance has been abysmal. So maybe they need to just look inside a little bit here, right? They talk about the Bitfarms failed off-market poison pill. They tried to do that 15%, right? Customary, it's about 20%. They tried it. At least they tried it, so that's a good thing. It got knocked down by the courts, but they tried it, so that's good. And then here they go on to say, a unilateral board refresh. On June 27th, Bitfarms announced the addition of Fanny Phillip to the Bitfarms board. Bitfarms chose to make the appointment without consulting Riot, its largest shareholder, even though Bitfarms board knew that we had proposed a slate of highly qualified director nominees and specifically asked that we consult before any board changes were made. Well, you can ask, but doesn't mean you have to do it, right? If somebody doesn't want to get bought out by you, Why would they follow anything that you have to say in that step or in that regard? That's kind of where I stand on things. If the way I look at it, I'm going to make it maybe an example, maybe not an appropriate example, but when a girl says no, it means no. You stop at that point. You don't continue on. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at this with Riot trying to get Bitfarms here. And then concerning the Stronghold acquisition announcement, shareholders should seriously question the timing of Bitfarms' announcement of its agreement to acquire Stronghold, notwithstanding the pending special meeting and the price that it was willing to pay. The $175 million transaction, including $50 million of assumed debt, represents a greater than 100% premium to Stronghold's closing share price on the day prior to the announcement. Yes, if you use the numbers prior to the announcement, then yes, it would be 100%. But if you look at the 30-day average weight, I think, which is what Bitfarms used for it, it was only a 70%. So they're being a little sneaky on this as well. And they go on to state here, which greatly exceeds the premiums of precedent all stock transactions in which sellers participate in any potential upside. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking just picking one date, the date prior, okay, that looks like pretty high. But if you look at the 30-day average, that's a little bit different. That's usually what's being used here. You don't use the last day prior to the announcement. Moreover, while announced as a highly accretive transaction with compelling economics, shareholders have not yet been provided any estimate of capital expenditure that will be required to fund the development of Stronghold's sites. Well, that's always a given. I mean, you're not going to be given the information right away. We know it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars potentially, right? But you're not going to have all those numbers until you actually go through the process of buying them out, doing all that stuff, and then getting all of the due diligence done and everything else. You're going to provide that eventually. We know it's going to cost money, right? Nobody's stupid about this. Nobody had an expectation that it was going to be free on it. So that was a kind of moot point, I think. Also, a continued lack of engagement with Riot. We have still seen no change in posture from Bitfarms board regarding its willingness to work constructively with Riot to consider beneficial changes to Bitfarms board and or mutually beneficial combination that could maximize value for all Bitfarms shareholders, right? That's the thing that they're going after. Mutually beneficial combination. No, Bitfarms does not want to combine. They don't want to be bought out. It is what it is. Riot should, I think, take the hint. You know, when a girl says no, that means no. And Bitfarms is my girl. And you could say that Ben is kind of like the father of Bitfarms right now with the CEO position, just as a reference to how things might work out. Okay. I'm just being a little funny about it, being a little coy on it here. So the path forward, electing Riot's nominees. Previously, as we announced, we would nominate 3 independent and highly qualified nominees for election to the Bitfarms board at the special meeting. With the resignation of Messrs. Bonta and Grodzinski, our campaign to fix Bitfarms' broken governance has already resulted in progress towards addressing the founder-led culture that we believe has been harmful to the Bitfarms board. Okay, you have made an impact there, which is great. Thank you for doing that. Now, back the F off. As a result, we will be reducing our proposed slate of new directors from the 3 to 2, Amy Friedman and John Delaney. The nominees, both nominees are fully independent of Riot and Bitfarms and will bring much needed public company board experience, corporate governance oversight, transaction experience, and business expertise in the Bitfarms board, right? The main thing here is transaction experience, meaning buyouts, mergers, acquisitions, that's what they're meaning by it. Okay. Bitfarms needs to halt its defensive tactics and let shareholders be heard. With the special meeting less than 2 months away, we sincerely hope that Bitfarms will allow its shareholders to have their say and will not seek to take any steps that adversely affect investors on their intended gain to gain an unfair advantage in the director election. Specifically, the Bitfarms board should not enter into any financial transactions prior to the completion of the special meeting. Why? You only own 20%. You don't own the majority share in there. Why would they have to listen to anything that Riot has to say? Riot is deeply concerned that any transaction the current Bitfarms board will pursue will be punitive, dilutive to all Bitfarms shareholders when there are more than attractive financing options available. What kind of financing options are there available? Right now, it's ATMs or nothing else pretty much for these miners unless you have, I don't know. I mean, if you have HPCI, maybe at that point, yes, you can get better financing terms like that. You could do also maybe convertible notes or something like that. Maybe you could do that possibly as well. But yeah, Bitfarms does not need to ask Riot for any permission on anything that they're doing there. If Riot owned, like 51% of the board, okay, or 51% of the shares, then yeah, you might have to ask them because they own a majority share there. But they don't currently. They only own less than 20%. Let's see here. If Bitfarms board insists on taking any such action to further entrench itself at an expense of shareholders, Riot will not hesitate to hold incumbent directors personally accountable. Well, maybe the shareholders of Riot need to hold accountable the board there. Look at the stock performance of the shares at Riot over the last 52 weeks. It has not been great. So do the shareholders need to hold the board accountable and the CEO there, Jason, as well? I have nothing against Jason and everything. I think he's playing this smart, try to get Bitfarms. I don't have nothing against him there. But it doesn't make sense for Bitfarms shareholders or Bitfarms themselves to be, sold off to Riot because Riot wants to get them. That's kind of my point on that one. Okay, so that's it on that one. Just wanted to point that out to you guys. Get my thoughts on it, my 2 cents on it. Maybe have a little comedy in there, a little something funny in there. But that is it. Okay, we'll see how this progresses. We'll see what October 29th brings us. We're only about 2 months away from that as it happens. All right. Now on to the production updates for the miners here. Bitfarms provides August 2024 production operation update. They have not reached 12 exahash. They are still waiting on the defective T21s to be replaced, which should be coming in here. They're saying this month. They are shipped already, so they should get those as well. We'll look at that down below here. You guys can read all this down here. We're going to get really into just some aspects of it here. So total BTC earned 233. That is down from July, 253. But like I said, we had a difficulty increase along with less Bitcoin transaction fees being added in the month than we had in July as well. That all contribute to them having less because they even installed more hash rate, about 200 petahash here. They're 11.3 here now instead of the 11.1. And then they sold Bitcoin here, 147. So they added more to their HODL position as well. They're currently at 11.3 operational, 10.4 average. 22.4 BTC on average exahash. That's using the average hash rate they had here, which was 10.4. 233 BTC earned, 7.5 BTC earned per day, and then 5,040 T21 in transit, 3,060 to Canada, 648 to Washington, and 1,332 to Argentina. So those are on the way. That should get them to T21s. That should get them to above 12 exahash by the end of the month here, which would be good. Okay. Paraguay, Waiguzu construction is progressing rapidly and remains on schedule, which is good to hear. And then they added 86 BTC to their treasury of now 1,103 BTC, up from 1,016 from the last month as well. So that's all looking pretty good here. Okay, I don't think there's anything else in here. Yeah, that is it. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet that I do have here for them, and we'll look at the other ones as well. Okay. So Bitfarms has about 451 million shares outstanding, market cap 974 million. It's below the 1 billion mark now because, well, Bitcoin coming down, miners coming down as well. Everything is coming down. But I did buy Bitfarms, as I said in the beginning of the video. I bought another, what did I buy? 250 shares of Bitfarms. Was that right? Yeah, I think that was right. I basically invested $2,000. 1,000 of that was in CleanSpark, and then 500 of it was in Bitfarms and IREN as well. Okay. Full disclosure there. You can see the performance of the last 12 weeks has not been great, but it hasn't been great for a lot of miners as well. BTC mine, we talked about that, 233. They're down about 20 from that. Let's see, their BTC HODL is 1,103, valued at 64 million right now, and it only represents about 6.59% of their market cap, which is actually pretty low, which is good. Going down here, revenue came in at 13.97 million roughly, based on the average price of Bitcoin here in the month and the hash rate where it was for the average. BTC HODL increase has continued to increase, which is nice to see. They're increasing that more and more here as we get into it, which is good. Hash rate difference, a little bit of an increase here, about 122 petahash roughly based on my numbers. BTC sold. They're selling on average right around like 136, 146 BTC on average, somewhere between there over the last 4 months, which generates them about 8.8 to 8.7 million on roughly, somewhere around there. So that's maybe just enough to cover their costs for electricity and other things like that. BTC per exahash efficiency has come down a little bit here to 20.6. What else do we have here? Other metrics, we talked about that. We'll get into some of these metrics up here in a minute. Oh, institutions. Something else that I'm seeing here that's kind of interesting is with Bitfarms, Cipher, and CleanSpark, at least, the three that have reported already, I'm seeing an increase in institutions for all these guys here. So institutions increased for Bitfarms here to 201. They now have 102 million shares owned by institutions. That's 23% of their float. We also saw here on some of these guys as well, the buy ratings get much more stronger, it seems like. Bitfarms now has 5 strong buy ratings, 1 buy rating, 1 hold rating, 0 underperform, 0 sell ratings. Price targets came down a little bit here for them to $5, $3.80 for the average, and $2.30 stayed the same for the low. But I'm seeing this with the other miners as well, which is kind of interesting because that makes me think that institutions are actually getting into it, whereas retail is getting out. Retail is getting frustrated. And that is exactly what they want to do. They want to get retail out so they can buy it at a much lower cost and run it up, right? And we're the suckers that, if we sell, we're the suckers that are basically capitulating to the big money, I guess you could say. Okay. Now, going down here, 233 Bitcoin came out 13.9 million roughly. We had about 5.56% in BTC fees for the miners for the month of August. Okay. Going down here, we added some miners to them. I added for August, what did I add here? I added the rest of the 80 hydro miners here, the 335 terahash miners, and I added some more of these 190 terahash miners as well to get them to the 11.3 exahash they are in August here. Okay, we added about 776,000 in BTC transaction fees. Came out to be 13.968 million, which corresponds to that. They were operating for about 27 days. The miners that got installed in the month of August, on average, I put in for 20 days roughly. And then the rest of it was operating for 27 days. So they did curtail some at that point as well. All right. Going up here to their numbers up top. Right now, I have them between 404 and 606 based on the last 3 quarters in the current quarter that we're in right now. They're at 216. I think they're way undervalued from where they really should be, as you guys know. And then if we look at the numbers that we had for August, multiplied times 12 months, I have them between 371 and 557, so still way below from where they really should be, just on that mark. For them, my comments on them is they got to continue to grow. They should be at 12 exahash by the end of the month of September, which is good. That means they need another 9 exahash to get to 21 exahash by the end of the year. Can they do it? I'm like 65%, 70% think that maybe they can do it, depending on how fast you can build out the sites in Paraguay, the Pennsylvania site as well. Everything has to kind of line up for them in order to do that. So I'm giving like a 70% chance of maybe accomplishing that. If they're a month or two late, not a big deal, right? So that's pretty close to the target. But that is it. Big thing is they got to continue to grow. Try to get Riot off their back if they can somehow, some way. I don't know how. I was hoping that and maybe in October we might be able to where Bitfarms and maybe Riot and everybody else is much higher priced if Bitcoin starts ripping in October. But we'll see. At that point, maybe if Bitfarms is at like $3.50, $4, it might be less appealing for Riot to try to buy them out. But we'll see on that one, okay? All right, so that's it on Bitfarms. Let's get into Cipher here really quick. Cipher is pretty short and sweet as well. They provided pretty quick, pretty easy details here. So key metrics for August, BTC mined was 160. This includes their JVs as well. I do subtract that out through my numbers and calculations and try to subtract that out. They also reported they had power sales equivalents of 9, so that automatically brought them down to 151. For mining side of things, Bitcoin sold 136. Bitcoin held was 2,284 right now. And month-end operating hash rate was 9.1. I don't know what the mix on that is between the JVs and their self-mining. I'm guessing on that part. So I added more machines to their self-mining here for the month of August on that one. Let's see here. You got some management commentary in here. You guys are more than welcome to read that. I'm not going to get into it here. But yeah, it looks like they are starting to, let's see, August, yeah, they just added more to their HODL here. Okay, so you guys can read all that stuff up top. Let's take a look at Cipher here really quick. Cipher, 328 million shares outstanding, market cap 1.1 billion. They are at 9.1, and that's why I'm saying Bitfarms is undervalued, because Cipher's at 1.1 billion market cap. Bitfarms is at 980 some, whatever it might be, million market cap, and they have more hash rate than Cipher does, right? So that's why I'm seeing the numbers there. Their performance of the last 12 weeks haven't been great, similar to what we saw with Bitfarms as well. Current hash rate, this should be Let's see here. Where do I have that from? Oh, okay. I see where that happened. Should be 9.1. 9.1 should be down here. Let me fix that really quick as well. Did I not add something into it? Or at least not covered into it? So you got that. Oh, yeah, there we go. Didn't include that in there. That should bring us up to the 9.1. It does. Okay. I missed September numbers that I normally add into it. Okay. Quick fix on that. That gets us back to 9.1 up top. Yep. Okay. 9.1 future hash rate. 5.4. I think there's some mistake here. What do we have a mistake here on? Miners. Why do I have 5.1? It should be 13.5. There we go. Okay. Hash rate about 4 exahash left. Operational 67%. Growth going forward 48. They do own 2,284 Bitcoin right now, valued at about 132 million. That represents about 11% of their market cap right now as it is. Okay. There's self-BTC mining here. It's down from where we were in July. 135 roughly is what I estimate for the self-mining. So they're down about 22 Bitcoin on that. Revenue is down also to 8.9. BTC HODL has kind of leveled off a little bit. They're still increasing a little bit, but we're not seeing the huge gains that we saw here from November of last year through possibly April and May of this year. And then it's been slowly increasing as well. They've been selling more so here as time goes on. Okay, so we're seeing that, which is okay. Total hash rate has been increasing, albeit a little bit more slowly here recently, but it is increasing still. BTC sold, we talked about that. They've been selling more. BTC per exahash efficiency is down to 16.6 here, looks like in August. And Bitcoin sold value, they've been selling more of the BTC in recent months at least. It's been increasing over the months, over the last 4 months. Okay. Going down here, when we talk about institutions again, remember I talked about that in Bitfarms as well. Institutions have been increasing. 224 institutions right now into Cipher. Shares also increased. This should be probably 168 million shares. I forgot to put a 0 in there. 106 million shares, 33% owned now by institutions. You can see here also that we have now 4 strong buy ratings, 4 buy ratings, and 1 hold rating. Whereas before we had 2 strong buy ratings. So like I said, we're seeing an increase in the, I guess, the mood and analysts as well. And then we have a $9 for the high target that stayed the same. Average actually went up to $7.77, and the low went up to $6 on Cipher as well. Cipher has really great costs, and it looks like the analysts and institutions are getting more bullish on the miners compared to what individual investors are getting into it, looking at it. Individual investors are like more bearish. They're like freaking out. And that's kind of why I bought today, because I just like, you know, there's fear in the street. I'm going to be greedy at that point. If people are fearful, I'm going to be greedy. Going down here, we got 9 million in revenue here for them. So it's down quite a bit from 11 million that they had in July. It's about 2.1 million or so in revenue overall on that one. And then I added here for them in, let's see here, in August, I added the 234 terahash miners to get us to the 9.1 that's owned basically for them. The percentage of the JV plus their self-mining, that got us to the 9.1, okay? And I also added about 504,000 in Bitcoin transaction fees for them for the month of August on that one. Based on where things are at right now and the last 3 quarters, current quarter that we're in, I'm in between $4.69 to $7.03. I believe that they are undervalued quite a bit, actually. They should be much higher from where they are, but a lot of companies are starting to look that way again. We keep going back down and up on the miners as far as undervalued, overvalued, depending on where Bitcoin is and where we are in the cycle, and we're back down to the down cycle, it looks like. Looking at the numbers, if we look at the numbers for August times 12 months, that should be, let's see here, yeah, August numbers we're using on that one. I'm between 295 and 443. That still leads me to believe that they are kind of fairly value based on that if they can't. But I'm guessing Bitcoin's going to go up in value anyways in the next 12 months or so. So at that point, they should be generating more revenue. So I would more likely go with these numbers, and then these might be even kind of low as well, depending where Bitcoin goes at that point. But yeah, big thing for them is to grow as much and as fast as they can in the next 12 months. I know they have a lot of growth potentially into 2025. Great electrical costs. The only thing is growth. They got to grow for them. But overall, it isn't bad numbers for August. A lot of miners are down, like we talked about. Bitfarms, Cipher, and Cleanspark is actually down on production as well because of the contributing factors of network difficulty, less Bitcoin transaction fees as well. that's dropping their Bitcoin production down, even though if they are increasing their hash rate a little bit. Okay. All right, so that's it for that one. Let's take a look at Cleanspark here really quick, and we'll get into your guys' Q&A side of things here. That's news. I don't need that. I need this one over here. So Cleanspark releases their August 2024 Bitcoin production update. Let's see here. What do we have here? Okay. Mined Bitcoins 478. Total Bitcoin holdings as of August 31st, 7,558. Monthly operating hash rate 22.6 exahash. Okay, so those are all looking good. Growth update. Dalton expansion. 15 megawatts of additional data center capacity is expected to be energized and fully hashing by next week. Wonderful there. Centersville expansion. 15 megawatts of additional data center capacity is expected to be energized and fully hashing by mid-month. That's also great. The Wyoming, the initial 30 megawatt immersion cooled facility is progressing as planned. The company is also overseeing the preparation of the second site and expects to complete the closing of the land purchase upon completion of remaining closing conditions. Power agreements for the site totaling 75 megawatts of power were executed in July. So those are all good things. So that brings them on 15, 65, 95, 170 megawatts here, potentially in the next couple of months here, which is good. And then Tennessee, the company is currently utilizing approximately 50 megawatts of infrastructure under a hosting agreement, which will be owned upon completion of the acquisition of Grid Infrastructure Inc. And 80 megawatts of additional data center capacity is also under construction by Grid, which will also be owned upon completion of the site and its closing of the acquisition. So that's another 130 megawatts. And then we're looking at, 300 megawatts in total with these sites here. So that should get us closer to the 32 exahash that we really need to get to by the end of the year here. Okay, so that's looking pretty good there. I mean, it's pretty short and sweet here. I'm seeing a lot of these reports for August being kind of short and sweet, which is kind of nice. But yeah, that's it, what we got there. Let's take a look at Cleanspark here really quick as well. Cleanspark has about 248 million shares outstanding, market cap 2.6 billion. I think this is as of Friday numbers for all these guys. I haven't updated the stock prices on these guys because they're down today, because I got Cleanspark at $9.10. I think I got them at something like that today. So we're definitely going to be lower than that on the numbers. As far as their performance over the last 12 weeks has not been great. It's been probably even worse than maybe even Bitfarms and Ciphers here. Current hash rate 22.6 exahash. Future hash rate, I have them at 55, but ideally I think it's 50 exahash here that they have. So they still have plenty of growth going forward. They own 7,588 Bitcoin. That's valued at 440 million right now. Now, Bitcoin goes 2x, 3x from here. I mean, you can see where that's going to end them up possibly at that point. Bitcoin production here was down to 478 from 494. So that's down about 16 BTC here. Their revenue has decreased to 28.66 million. Their Bitcoin HODL has continued to increase quite nicely here. They've been selling Bitcoin very, very limited or very, very low amount of Bitcoin over the last, I guess you could say 8 months since January, really. And then their hash rate growth has continued to increase quite nicely here over the last 6 months, which is good to see there. BTC per exahash efficiency is a 21.1, which is not too bad. Bitcoin sold value, we talked about that, I mean, you guys can see how much that. Also here, institutions and analysts, here we have 377, a huge increase here in the institutions in them. Shares increased to 113 million. The percentage actually went down to 46.49, meaning I believe that they are pulling on the ATM in the month of August. Based on those facts there, we also had an increase here to now 4 strong buy ratings compared to the 2 that we had here. We have 2 buy ratings, 2 hold ratings, and the price target stayed the same for the high at $30. Average went down a little bit here to 23.08, and the low actually went down to 10.50 here. So we're still seeing kind of bullish sentiment here in the institutions and analyst side of things as well. Going down here to their revenue, I have them at 28.657 million for the month of August potentially. We did install some machines as well. We installed about 6,150 of these 200 terahash miners. I'm guessing, I don't know exactly, they don't provide that information, but they were running at about 20 days. So we got those in there. I added about 1.5, I could say 1.6 million here in Bitcoin transaction fees for them. And they were operating for about 28.12 days in the month of August here, it looks like, on average, roughly. I don't know exactly when these machines get plugged in, so that's why I always use pretty much 20 days when we do add them. Okay, that's kind of where it got us, and that got us to the 28.657 million here for the month of August, which corresponds with the numbers here based on the average Bitcoin price, hash rate for the month as well, and all that stuff. and the BTC amount that they mined here. So that's kind of where we're at with it. Going up here, I have them between 1527 and 2290. They are at, I mean, they're at $9 something right now. Definitely way undervalued from where they really should be. But a lot of miners are being undervalued right now because there's just panic in the streets with retail investors right now. A lot of retail investors got in at higher prices when possibly CleanSpark was at $20 some plus. You know, Marathon was at $30 plus. Riot was higher at that point. All of these guys were higher at that point. And in the last couple months, you might be down like 50%. And at that point, it is pretty painful. And I've been through this. I've been through this twice now with Hive in 2017 through 2021. Finally sold it in 2023. And then I started buying CleanSpark in 2022 in January. And Bitfarms as well. I mean, I was down like 60, 80% on some of these guys here at one point. The only thing that really saved me at that point was just dollar cost averaging. And because I didn't know where the bottom was going to be, I also don't know where the top is going to be or where the top is going to happen. But I'd rather do that. And so I'm going to be the minus probably like for 3 years, given everything that's happened here. But I'm doing that to help me out tremendously, have a much lower average price on the miners that I do own. Okay. So like I said, I bought CleanSpark, Bitfarms, and IREN today, which I thought was just a great deal on these guys right now. If we get another dip here, I may dip into my emergency fund a little bit more and buy at that point as well, because honestly, I just do not see them going too much lower from where we are right now unless things really, the economy and everything else goes to the crapper in a handbasket, basically, at that point. Okay? But that's it. That's kind of where we stand right now on all these guys here. All of them are growing. All of them are doing all the right things. It's just getting Bitcoin to go up in value higher. All right. So as always, my little sales pitch. Spreadsheets are available to my Patreon members. It's $8 a month. You might be able to find a couple spots at $5 and $4 a month. Link for that in the description if you want access to all this stuff. I track everything and track more probably than I really should track, but it's kind of nice to see and compare everything, how it compares to all the other miners as well for some of these miners. Okay, but that's it. That's my sales pitch. Let's get into your guys' Q&A side of things here, and we'll call it a day here. So it was definitely a fun day. I mean, a fun day if you're going shopping, but not a fun day if you're not. But then we also had quite a few news stories and Riot getting in on Bitfarms again. It's just kind of like, ugh. All right, let me go over to the Q&A side of things here. Let's see where we are. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to catch up with me. It's always a little bit of a delay here. I need a drink of water. Let's see here. Andrew says, high beta plays work both ways. Yes, to the upside and to the downside. And then he goes on to say here, it's important to buy Bitcoin and keep stacking, not just focus on the miners. We are the Bitcoin community and we need to support Bitcoin and the miners. Don't forget to stack sats in cold storage. I agree. My sats are in cold storage. They've been in cold storage since 2018, 2019 timeframe. So yeah, definitely stack them. Let's see. September has been the worst month for BTC, and same goes for the miners. Historically, yes. Historically, I mean, it's been a bad month, but not like a really, really bad month for the miners or Bitcoin in general. Let's see. See, Jimmy says, you're going to get people wrecked. Miners are done. I don't believe the miners are done. That's kind of what I think some people want you to think. I think some people want us, the retail crowd, to capitulate, to basically give up. This is no way that we're going to make any money on these guys. And while we're doing that, they're the ones that are buying all the shares, and they're going to scoop it up at cheap prices, and then they're going to bounce it all the way up and make buck on it. Let's see. Ben asks, hi Seb, do you think Bitfarms will consider becoming a US based company and institutions like BlackRock and Vanguard buy into it? I hope they do. I think there is some benefit to being US based on that. And then if they have more operations here in the United States anyways, it would only make sense for them to become a US based company at that point. The Athlete's Edge, thank you so much for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. Hi Seb, where do you see Bitfarms first wave 95 to 100 BTC, and in correction we buy, where do we see Bitfarms before summer 2025 wave 2? Oh gosh, good question. If we get to 100,000 by the end of the first wave, maybe when is the first wave going to happen? Are you talking about maybe by the end of the year here? If that's the case, that's more or less a 2x. I would expect Bitfarms to be at least 2x along with Bitcoin here. But I'm guessing it's probably going to be even more than that. I think it also depends on Riot. What does Riot do? Does Riot sell their shares when Bitfarms starts going up in value because Bitcoin's going up in value and they can't get the board seat members appointed there? There's a lot of ifs, I guess you could say, that make it kind of tricky to figure out really where Bitfarms could be. I do think in the long run, if we get Riot off Bitfarms back, I think Bitfarms will do much better going forward. But when is that going to happen? I don't know. Let's see. Do you see another big miner buying 20% share in Bitfarms? No, I don't see that happening. I don't think anybody else. I mean, then you're fighting over it and you're just going to be increasing the price even more. I don't see that happening. I don't think so. Andrea, yes, thank you. Please remember to smash the like button, gang. Let's see here. Let's see, CCS, what if this is a failed cycle? When will we sell everything? Oh gosh, I guess it would be a failed cycle if we don't reach, I guess, somewhere between 80 and 90,000 by the end of the year. If we don't get close to that or reach that, at least 80,000, I think, then this might be a failed cycle, which we've never had before historically. And the reason it might be a failed cycle is maybe it's going to be an extended cycle. So what if we get to like 80,000 this year and get to like 120,000 next year, get to 160,000 the following year, and then go to like 200,000 the year after that, right? Institutions now are controlling more of the Bitcoin that's out there through the ETFs, banks, countries, all that stuff. What if it's going to be just a much longer cycle instead of having these huge upswings going up, 3x, 10x, 100x, whatever it's been in the past, but we just have a much smaller increase in annual gains, but it's just much longer where we don't have these kind of 80% drawdowns. So, I mean, we'll have to see. Nobody really knows that. Thoughts on Cipher ATM? All the companies have ATMs. I'm okay with it as long as it's creative to investors. So that's not a big deal. I don't see that as a big deal. Hey Seb, why do you think Cleanspark mined less BTC in August compared to July? I thought they increased their hash rate. They did increase their hash rate. A couple things happened. The hash rate increased overall for the network. Difficulty also increased. We also saw a decrease in the number of Bitcoin transaction fees being added to it. So that's also a contributing factor to it also. Because I believe we had a much higher, we had like 8 or 9% in July, I think it was, for Bitcoin transaction fees, which is quite substantial. And then take that away, cut that in half, cut the amount they're getting because of the difficulty adjustment as well. That all contributes to having less, even though if you increase your hash rate. Let's see. Crypto Fever says, thank you, Sebastian. I've been trying to explain this to people, but they are too emotional to believe what's happening. It's not, it could be emotional. It could be also that just fear. I mean, you're down 50% on something that you bought just a couple months ago. People are going to be fearful of that. And a lot of times it's very, very difficult to do the counterintuitive thing, which would be to buy more, right? Why would you buy into something that's going down in value? Right. That's the whole, you got to break that kind of thinking, I think, mentality a little bit. CP says, I'm down 50% in Riot. Thoughts on swapping for Cleanspark? I think that would be a good thing to do, possibly, even though you're down. I hate it that you're down. Riot, I just don't know how well they will do going forward. If you look at the numbers for the last 52 weeks, they've underperformed everybody here. They're like the last ones on the list. So yeah, you might do better with Cleanspark. You might do better with maybe even IREN, one of those guys. Bitfarms is, I would say, a little bit more risky because you got Riot hanging over there. I just don't know. I do like what's going on with Bitfarms and everything else in the future without Riot, and that's kind of why I'm getting into it. Let's see. Has Cleanspark bottomed? Are you looking at sub $8? Sub $8, gosh, I don't know. Let's take a look at it here really quick on the chart. What do we got going on here? Cleanspark, I would think, I think maybe like the 840s would be like the low here potentially on this, if we're using the Fibonacci retracement on it from where it was from the bottom to the top, going back down. Other than that, I mean, where else are we looking at here potentially? We could be, well, I hope we didn't go as low as 327 or whatever it is, 340. Right, that would be really bad. But that'd be really bad for all the miners at that point too as well. So, that's tough to say. I think right now, from where we were, from the bottom to the top, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that we kind of stop here, which we have in the past, at least gotten close to it and stopped. But if Bitcoin continues to fall down even more to like the 53,000 mark or something like that, we might go below that a little bit. So maybe, yeah, you might be right. Maybe $8 might be the bottom there if we do get to it. Somewhere around there, I would imagine. Okay. Back here. Let's see. Sour Melon Gaming says, Fever, I'm getting pretty frustrated, not going to lie. Yeah, a lot of people are getting pretty frustrated. It is frustrating. You need to have really good patience and a good stomach for this stuff, especially with the miners being such a leveraged play on Bitcoin. Ernest says, time to buy the dips when people are panicking. That has been my thesis all along, is to dollar cost average in on the dips as much as you can. It's not always a pleasant feeling that you're being down. Fortunately for me, I was buying back in 2022, 2023 when the prices were much lower, going down actually. So my cost averages on these guys are pretty low to the point where I'm still in the green on all these guys here. Just barely on some of them, but I'm still in the green. But I'm still buying into them because I think this is going to be a short-lived process here, or at least, well, it hasn't been short-lived, it's been a couple months, but at least it's going to be for maybe another month or so at most, I think, and then we start going back up. But I could be wrong on that. Let's see. Andy says, yeah, it's funny when people say the miners are done. Precisely when miners have dropped 30-50% already. If you were smart, why didn't you say it before the drop? It's all emotions now. Bottom is in. Potentially, yes. I agree with you there. Let's see. Seb, you keep saying 12 months from now. What exactly do you mean? If BTC is 58 to 60,000 in November, miners will have severe issues, I think. Yeah, if that's the case, it's a different cycle altogether. Right, I keep saying in the next 12 months, historically, Bitcoin has rallied after the halving event. It takes a couple months for it to go through it all. But like September, or actually October, November are usually really good months for us. And then we might trade sideways a little bit, go down a little bit in Bitcoin from that period to then again going like a nice rise in possibly next year in October, November again. Potentially. Right. If we don't get to like 80,000 by the end of this year, it might be just a different cycle altogether. We'll have to keep an eye on things. Let's see, what is the next support level for Cleanspark? Next support level would be, I mean, it would be right around like the $8.40 mark, somewhere around there, possibly, I think. We do have some support there in the past as well. I mean, right now we're at kind of support as well. If you look at it here, if you can see my thing here at 904, we have all these over here that are kind of support back here as well. So that might be our support. Other than that, lower than that would be like 838, something like that would be right around here would be our support as well, potentially. Just kind of what I'm seeing with the charts. Okay, let's see. Robin says, I've been on the buy side of Stronghold. Riot won't be able to stop the merger with Stronghold. What are your thoughts? I think so also. I mean, they don't have an offer for Bitfarms now anyways. Why? They're trying to make changes in the board. They wanted originally 3 board seats. Now they're only asking for 2 board seats. And we'll see how that gets voted on in October. I'm voting against it. I don't want any part of Riot's influence in the Bitfarms board. I think at that point, if they don't succeed in appointing the 2 board members through the votes, at that point, I think Riot will probably back off. But I could be wrong, but we'll see. Let's see. You think it's safe to buy more Bitfarms now? It's still lower than Riot offer. I bought it today. Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of these guys are just way undervalued right now compared to where they really should be. But we're in kind of this kind of rut right now. Let's see. Let me guess. Seb, I am dying. How low will the miners fall? That I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately. I wish I could tell you. The only thing I can tell you in the past that saved me is when miners are falling is to dollar cost average into them. That saved me at least. I don't know what your trading style is like, if you're day trading or if you're investing for a little bit for a longer period of time, meaning at least a year or something like that. It's tough. I get it. I understand. I know it's tough. Let's see. Hank, with CleanSpark down 30% in the last 10 days and IREN down 25, I bought today and emptied my wallet. Kind of wish I saved some dollars for later. I just don't think we could go down further. Potentially, time will tell. I don't know. That's kind of why I bought today. Also, it was just a big dip from where we were before. It's like, okay, I want to buy. Let's see. Is CleanSpark a good buy here or will it fall to 7? I think it's a good buy here. If it falls to 7, buy more at 7. Andre says, I always expect more downside. Yeah, I always try to have a little bit more cash on the side. Price target for IREN this peak cycle or cycle peak. For Bitcoin, I think getting up to 180,000, maybe 200,000 this cycle, potentially that would get IREN close to like $80, I think, somewhere around there. So right, it says horrible energy when a girl says no. Well, yeah, it's the only way I can think of, right? Where the girl says no, you stop, right? And I look at Bitfarms as my girl, which I think can do much better without Riot. But yeah, you're probably right. It's probably a bad analogy. Let's see. Let's see. Bitfarms is doing well operationally. Would love to buy them. Buy CleanSpark or CleanSpark Cipher IREN are also so low now. So good for them. Thanks for all the work. So yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, they're all low right now, but I think Bitfarms is still a little bit more undervalued than the rest currently. Andre says IREN is 75, so it's pretty close to what I'm thinking, around $80, right? Do you have a spot loss for your spot positions? I do not, no. Because I will probably start putting something in once we start getting close to a Bitcoin like 100,000. I just don't want to, have a huge loss in it at that point. But right now, I'm still in kind of an accumulation phase. So if we do get a dip, I want to buy more. I don't want it to trigger selling shares. Let's see. When will Bitfarms reach 17 exahash? They did not even finish 12 exahash. Yeah, they're close to 12 exahash now. They should get there this month. 17 exahash, I'm guessing, will be probably around November timeframe, somewhere around there. They've always stated that they're going to be more heavy loaded towards the end of the year and hash rate growth going forward. So that's kind of what I'm expecting there at least. What would be a good entry price for CleanSpark? I think right now at $9. I was buying CleanSpark at $9.09. I think it was like $9.09 back in January of 2022. That's kind of where I started at. I didn't know where the bottom was going to be, so I dollar cost average all the way down to, I think it got down to like $2 or $1 something at one point even. Let's see, which miners did you buy? I bought CleanSpark, Bitfarms, and IREN today. Let's see, would you consider adding Soluna to your small miners analysis? I know you rarely touch on those as it is, but Soluna seems to be making some interesting moves lately. Thank you. Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on them a little bit here. They do seem to be doing pretty well. More so recently than in the past. I covered Soluna in the past, and they got into financial trouble as they start providing operational updates. So that's kind of what I got out of them. The only thing that they're doing now is a lot of these partnerships and joint ventures, which makes it a little bit more challenging to figure out what is what and how much they're mining there for themselves. But I may think about it. I may add them to maybe the smaller miners. I'll look into it. We'll see where they go. Andre says, true pleb Bitcoiners don't use stop loss. We hodl no matter what the carnage. Yeah. That is a tough lesson there. Are you buying miner options? I am not. No, I'm buying just regular spot shares, I guess you could say, or just regular shares. Okay, which public miners have the most Bitcoin hodl along with the best hash rate? Well, best hash rate, you're talking about highest hash rate or the most efficient hash rate. There's a difference between that. If you're talking about the hodl position, it would be right now Marathon and Hut 8, followed by, is that going to be Riot and then CleanSpark? Or, yeah, I think Riot and then CleanSpark. Those would have the biggest hodl. As far as best hash rate, I would have to say right now it's probably CleanSpark. their efficiencies and hash rate is much better than what we saw with Riot, Hut, or Marathon right now. Let's see, Mark says, yeah, don't give in to emotion as hard as that may be to do. So, yeah, emotions are definitely some things that can drag you down. And I understand it. It's tough. You know, you put in X amount of dollars and then you're down 50% on that. That's not a great feeling. It's hard to combat that feeling and be more positive on the upside potential. Let's see. DK says, I buy the dip, but when miners announce dilution, the stock seems to almost shoot a tank the next day. I saved 14% on CleanSpark by selling pre-market today. Will rebuy sub 9. Target for me is 865. Okay, nice, very nice. Yeah, I mean, if you can time it that well, I mean, that's fantastic. Will you buy more miners if we dip further? Yes, I will buy more. I will dip into my emergency fund if I have to. Where do you see Bitcoin bottoming during this consolidation, assuming it's not going into a bear market, that is? Bitcoin, let's take a look at it here. Bitcoin, okay. So why is it not loading? Bitcoin, come on. I don't think we're going to get, I mean, we seem to have pretty good support here at 54,000. I don't think we're going to go below that. We came close here. We bounced off of it. We came down, bounced off it again. We had a wick below, but we closed above it. That's why it makes me think we have a pretty good support here at above 53,700, something like that. So that's as low as I think we might go currently, unless that actually breaks and holds there. Right now, I'm thinking this might be the bottom here on it. Okay, let's go back here. He said, what do you think CleanSpark doesn't have? Why do you think CleanSpark doesn't have any sites in Texas? Isn't Texas a good energy state for miners with low electricity costs? It is good, but you also have to curtail at some points. At that point, it's, I don't know if, I mean, we saw a lot of curtailment from Riot. We're seeing it from also from Cipher's not there yet, but Cipher's building out a Black Pearl site there. We'll have to see how they do on it as well. Historically, the prices at certain regions are a little bit higher as well. I just don't know. But I think that's maybe why. I think they want to get into places where they have more of a steady, not really a fixed cost, but more steady cost, I guess you could say, in those facilities or locations that they go into. And I think Texas is a little bit more open market and a little bit more volatile at that point. Let's see. P says, I sold my Ethereum to buy IREN today. Let's see. People buying miners are getting a lesson. CleanSpark can easily retest $3 to $4 range. It'd be tough. Tough to go back down that low. At that point, everybody's going down, and Bitcoin's going to be going down below 50,000, closer to 40, 30,000 at that point. Let's see here. Gary Pat says, right, hit a 52-week low today. 671. Did any other miners hit 52-week lows today? I don't believe so, but we can take a quick gander at it. Let's see. I know Bitfarms has been like one of the worst performing miners here the last 52 weeks. If we look at the 1 year on the chart here, okay, let's just go through it here. So we'll look at the big guys here. So BitDigital, low was back here, so they're still above it. BitDeer, their low was back here, they're still above it. Bitfarms, their low was, yeah, I mean, they're still way above their low. Cipher, way above their low. CleanSpark, way above their low as well. CORZ, way above it. What else do we have here? Hive. Hive is still above it. Hut 8, above it. IREN, still above it. Marathon, still above it. Mawson don't really care. Riot is the only one that here is reaching the new 52-week lows here if you look at it that way. And then who else do we have here? Wolf is going to be above it as well. So yeah, Riot has been the worst performer here in the last 52 weeks. Can't change the fact on that, unfortunately. That's why I've never gotten into Riot. For me, Riot seems like they have so much potential, but they just never could get their operations in really good shape. I guess you could say uptime and all that stuff, what I really look for. And that's why I never got into them. Let's see here. I'm losing faith. Is Bitfarms going to go back up? Yes, but we need Bitcoin to go back up. If Bitcoin starts going up 70, 80,000, Bitfarms, everybody else is going to go back up at that point. See, what is the possibility to get one Bitfarms share for one Riot share in this buyout? We would need Riot to go down quite a bit. I think another 50% from here possibly to do that. Let's see. Sean asks, hey Seb, just tuning in. Are we still calm here? Days like today hurt. Good day. Good God. Yeah, I'm still buying, right? I'm still calm about it. I probably won't panic until we get to like December and Bitcoin prices at 50,000 at that point. If we get there, I'm going to start panicking. We'll do a video at that point. I'm going to be selling everything online probably at that point if we're still at 50,000 by the end of December or beginning of December even. Let's see. Ben says Jason Les has a chip on his shoulder. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. Next you see not many. When BTC goes to 150, that will Bitfarms be LOL. Yeah. Let's see. Bear market until October 31st. Chop until the election. From there, after the election decides the crypto market. I don't think so. That's gonna be the case. You gotta remember, guys. We've had Bitcoin going up in value regardless of who has been in the White House. We've had Democrats. We've had Republicans in there as well. And what does Bitcoin do? Bitcoin goes up historically, right? Now, if that historical cycle breaks this time around, then we're definitely going to be in a different boat. But right now, it's just kind of the way I see things. Let's see here. Seb, do your numbers factor in non-U.S. miners seem to always trade lower than U.S. miners? Wonder why all miners don't try to become American to raise market caps. You would think that, right? But if you look at IREN, IREN is not a U.S.-based company. They are an Australian-based company. And yet they were able to do very well here recently, especially when they announced they're getting the 30 exahash by the end of the year, which was an increase from the 20 exahash. And there was really no impact on them being an outside U.S. company. So there might be some truth to that a little bit, but I don't think it's 100% truth to that. I think with Bitfarms has just had a lot of FUD around it in the last 6 months to even 8 months, whatever you want to say. And then with Riot still overhanging on that, I think that's the reason for it, possibly. Let's see here. Will Bitcoin peak in October or is the peak gone already? I don't think the Bitcoin will peak in October. I think the peak is going to be sometime next year. I don't know exactly when, but I think we'll peak in next year sometime. Let's see. At what price will Bitfarms will make Riot walk away from the buyout? I think it's going to have to be at least $4, $5 at that point. That should get him to a $2 billion valuation along. Yeah, I don't think Riot wants to spend $2 billion on a company. Let's see. Especially what's your price target for IREN with BTC price at 100,000 and 30 exahash. Okay, so the only question then is, what is the network hash rate at that point? Is it 800 exahash? Is it 750 exahash? That's also going to have an impact on it, what they possibly could be valued at. But 100,000, I would think, with them being double from where they are right now, they should be probably like 4 to 5x easily at that point, I would think. But what I think doesn't always go the way with the markets. Let's see. Let's see. Why is Jason trying so hard? Bitfarms obviously ain't gonna sell. They want Bitfarms, so they're trying whatever they can. See. I came late. What was the reason for Bitfarms low Bitfarms exahash rate after purchasing Stronghold? The purchase has not gone through yet with Stronghold. That's not going to happen until sometime in 2025. We don't know exactly whether it's going to be January, February, but it's going to happen in next year sometime. So that's not being applied yet. Let's see. Okay, any word how to actually vote against Riot? We'll have more details on that coming up when we get closer to that. I haven't seen anything yet on it. Thoughts on Digihost as an acquisition target? They're a Canadian company as well. I think their goal is to get to 2 exahash, last I remember. I don't know. They don't have a lot in the pipeline as far as megawatts. So I'm not sure how much of an acquisition target they would be. I mean, they might be for somebody, but I don't know who. Let's see. Riot Cleanspark IREN to $40 still possible? Yes, I do believe. If Bitcoin goes to 150,000 and north of that, yes, I do believe we could see all those guys above $40. Let's see. Coincidence that pure miners Cleanspark Cipher diluted, or will that be a trend due to low BTC price and no other revenue streams? HPC miners, a good hedge versus BTC price at 50, 60,000 per 4 weeks. IREN Wolf, CORZ. Yes. All the miners have ATMs. Pretty much all of them are pulling on it one way or another. Some are using what they have. Others will be adding new ones, ATMs as well. That's not going to change. The only way that's going to change, as I've said before, I think, is if we have much higher Bitcoin transaction fees that support the miners where they don't have to dilute as much. They're generating steady revenue at that time. Steady, I mean, steady as it can be with Bitcoin and everything else, but much more linear revenue than what we've seen in the past, I guess. Okay. Let's see. As a Bitfarms stockholder, how are we going to vote on this Riot merger? Takeover is through mail. It could be through mail. It could be also through a website, I believe. So we'll get more information on that down the road. Great energy unless you're extremely woke. Well, I hope you people aren't woke. I mean, you know, it's just an analogy. Don't get your pennies in a bunch. That could be also something that people that are woke get offended about. Let's see. Miners remind me of my wife playing hard to get. Yeah. Probably a little bit more costly than your wife, you know, as far as what you got to invest in them. But I probably shouldn't say that. I would spend $1 billion on my wife if I had to. What else do we have here? Today and August 5th seem to be about recession fears. Recession fear is strong. I think most retail want out before recession. Yeah, but we've been hearing recession fears for the last 10 years. There's always a group of people that are kind of peddling that statement. So I don't know. I just don't see it just yet. But the data, at least, with some of it, we are slowing down, but I don't think we're in a recession yet. Seb, have you told your wife Bitfarms is my girl? Yeah, she knows. I have a lot in Bitfarms and Cleanspark. All the stocks that I own, those are my girls. And those are the girls my wife is okay with. Let's see. Miners are getting easier to get the more they go down in price. Yes. Why are you so bullish on IREN versus other miners? Operations, growth, and just track record. That's kind of what I'll look at really there. Let's see. What is the... thanks for the daily content. You're very welcome. What is the best miner pick to buy on this dip? There's quite a few of them. I mean, all of them are down so much. Look for the ones that have a good track record of growing and executing on their growth. Pretty, also really good, I guess you could say, financials, healthy financially, and continued growth into the future, what they have plans for. So look into those. So my wife's calling me. I think it's, what is it, 11 o'clock? We've been going on. Okay, we've been going a little long. I'm trying to catch up here. Let's see. Unfortunately, market makers want you in for the recession, potentially. Let's see here. Fed rate cuts could surprise us all. Sailor is itching to buy as well as similar scientific and other big institutions. Yes. Let's see here. Hi, Seb, I believe you have been through this last cycle knowing what you know. Why did you not sell around June and waited for the summer's dip? Because it's 1 or 2 cycles. That's not enough to have a good probability of things happening again the same way. Plus, I'm a terrible trader when it comes to things, so I would just dollar cost average, and that's my preferred method. It might not be the preferred method for everybody else, but for me, I'm hoping that it works out. It has worked out so far, but I'm terrible at day trading, trying to pick the bottoms and the tops on these things. What are your thoughts on MicroStrategy? MicroStrategy has done very, very well from the bottom of end of 2022, right? It's done very, very well compared to Bitcoin. It's up like 3x on what Bitcoin is up right now, something like that. And historically, that's kind of what it does, 2 to 3x at most. So I think that one is still pretty good. If you wanted to have a proxy play on Bitcoin, you still at least will get like 2 to 3x potentially. Whereas the miners, I think once Bitcoin starts ripping, the miners can outperform MicroStrategy. But we'll see. Why such a heavy drop on CleanSpark? They came out Friday that they are increasing the number of shares available to them under their incorporation to 600 million from 300 million. That's the reason why. see. Let's see. So Bitfarms did not grow on August 6th. Yeah, they grew a little bit. They grew from 11.2, I think it was, to 11.6, whatever it was. 11.3, something like that. They grew several petahash. Several hundred petahash at least in August. Let's see here. In a few weeks after everyone sells, the viewer count will go back to sub 100. Maybe then we will be near bottom. Maybe. See, always cost averaging the miners expect price can go down more and never go all in on BTC miners or buy a full position in a single buy. Always keep some cash to buy dips. Yes, good points there. See, today Cantor Fitzgerald gave Bitfarms 5, Wolf 10, and Riot 23. Why do you think Bitfarms was the lowest, but it has better growth than Wolf and better operations than Riot? More shares outstanding, right? So a 5 would get them to roughly, what would that be? 2.5, 3 billion, something like that, market cap. That's the only reason why. Wolf at $10, I mean, that still would get them to like 3 billion at that point, I think. Riot at 23 would get them to like maybe, what is that, 5 billion at that point, something like that. Maybe more than that, somewhere around there. But Riot's growing to, what are they trying to go to? 31 exahash this year. They're going to be like a 35 exahash by the end of the year as well. And then they got more growth going forward. So that's, I think, maybe why. What is the reason for Bitcoin drop today? I don't know. I wish I knew. Let's see. Federal rate cut equals Bitcoin going up. I would expect that to happen. Yes. Let's see. Bitfarms is the most undervalued Bitcoin mining right now just because I'm planning not to buy in 2025. I don't want to overly diversify. I'm just add more what I have, IREN, Wolf, and Cleanspark. Okay, nice. Let's see. Hi, Seb, what's your opinion on the current hash price in the 40s, much lower than Q2? How will this impact Q3, Q4, Q1? Well, the only way they can combat this is growing their hash rate much more, right? Especially what we're seeing. Well, a lot of them are going to be doing that anyways. So that could help on that if they grow their hash rate. And then Bitcoin going up is the only way they can really combat that. I mean, right now we're going to be down possibly in revenue from some of the miners. We'll look at that once we have all the miners report for the August numbers. We'll see how much they might be down as an estimated number for Q3 numbers compared to Q2 numbers. Okay. Bitfarms is outside the U.S., which is the biggest risk in my opinion. I don't know if that's a big risk. Let's see. As much as I want Bitcoin to go up, I'm glad for these days to add, hopefully until 2024, days like this to add more. Okay. Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. As much as I want Bitcoin to go up, I really enjoy these kind of days where we have a red candle on some of these miners. I can buy more into them. So I'm kind of with you on that. Let's see. In the past cycles, did miners with the best hash rate and no hodl perform well during the bull run? Just thinking if IREN strategy will pay off compared to the miners that hodl. Let's see. Last cycle, we had much less miners than what we have right now. And at that point, a lot of the miners were actually hodling more Bitcoin than we have. I mean, we only have a couple miners that don't hodl really. But those miners like Marathon did really well. They had a huge hodl. They actually bought Bitcoin, also like 4,000 Bitcoin at one point. But they did much better than anybody else did. They also had huge growth plans, and they didn't reach them, but they had those plans out there, and people were believing that they were going to get to those. But then we also had the Bitcoin price go down, so that didn't really help either. Let's see here. When do you think everyone will report their monthly report for August, and do you think they are going to get to 12? Yeah, I do think so. They're at like 15 exahash right now when they reported their fiscal year results last week. So I know that they're 15 exahash. They should get to, if not to 20 exahash, they should be really close to 20 exahash by the end of September. And I would expect them to report here in the next day or two, possibly. Let's see. Market's worried U.S. is cutting in late September and Japan raising in early October. If we survive that and we see a V-shape, we're good. If higher timeframes turn into a bear trend, we're aft first recession for BTC. Possibly, yeah. If that happens, then yes. Let's see. Hard Knock says loading IREN and Cleanspark like mad today. Nice. Let's see. Mike Alfred and Freedom by 40 on X keeps on bull baiting everyone, saying we're going to go up, but we keep dropping. Why do they do that? I think they're just positive on things going up. I mean, you can't see where things are going to go. I can't see where things are going to go. I'm positive as heck on the miners and Bitcoin in general, but we have these kind of downtrends, and you can't foresee them. You can't know that in the past that's going to happen. You only look and see what might happen, and a lot of times if people are positive about things, they're going to be more positive mindset on their predictions possibly as well. Let's see. Cipher dilution just came out, or incoming. Okay, so is that for their ATM, I think? Do you think Riot will cross $50 if Bitcoin cross 150,000? I think they could possibly get there if they fix their operational uptime at CORZ, or not fix it, but have much better uptime at Corsicana and improve their operational uptime at Rockdale as well. Let's see. I said $1 billion actually. I would spend $1 billion on my wife. Now that's something you shouldn't say your wife is watching. I said $1 billion. My wife is priceless, I guess you could say. That being said, I think we see 90,000 before end of year, 175 to 200 by December 2025. That's kind of my thoughts on it as well. We'll see how they play out. Why not into Hot 8? Where do I start with Hot 8? I think we'd run out of time with Hot 8 if I was to delve into them and list all the grievances that I have against them. Let's see. Buffett is selling and close to 280 billion cash in hand. Why aren't we selling as well? Good question. I don't know. I think maybe we're more bullish than Buffett is. Let's see. What would be the price of CORZ and BitDeer if they stopped mining Bitcoin and just went into HPC data center revenues? Basically, would CORZ be a long-term hold past the cycle like normal company? Well, I mean, they would hopefully grow still with HPC, but how much growth can you have with the HPC business? In that, I mean, we're seeing pretty tough with the miners that are out there now trying to get HPC. That's like only a couple have it right now. So I think the stock would just kind of maybe flatline at that point because you have these set revenues for the 12 years, and if they can't grow it, increase it somehow, that would be tough. I don't know. What else we got here? Hard Knock says, all I see is monster upside ahead for some of these miners from here, especially CleanSpark, Riot, Mara, and IREN, in my opinion. I think all the miners will do well going forward if Bitcoin starts ripping up higher, but we just need that to happen. Okay, here we go. Bitcoin dropped because of Japan Fed hinting at a possibility of hike, which would further unravel yen carryover trade. For anyone wondering, was not just BTC, but the whole market inverse DXY for risk on. Okay, yeah, so that's why the whole market was down today. Let's hear it. Thanks, Seb. You're very welcome. Great to hear your thoughts after a few rough red days. Always makes me feel better. You're very welcome. And maybe I'm too positive to a fault. We'll see. Time will tell. Let's see. So the bigger the global hash rate is, the harder it is for miners to earn BTC. Correct. Yes, that is the case. Okay. Would you be buying $6 CleanSpark, $100.60 Bitfarms soon? I mean, if it happens, I will be buying. Yeah, I was buying CleanSpark at $9. I was buying Bitfarms, I think at the peak at like in 2022. I was buying them at, what was it, $4.50, $5, something like that at that point. So yeah, I'll definitely be buying more. Let's see your amazing information. Thank you. You're very welcome, Hank. Thanks, Seb. Have a good night, you too, buddy. I'll see you in the next one. Andrea says, thank you so much for all your work you do and information you share. So appreciate it. You're very welcome. I appreciate you guys coming in here, chatting with me, asking questions. Let's see. After current dropping in prices, now waiting for stability. If uptrend 2%, then I will buy. Not financial advice. Okay, interesting. And then, see, in 2023, BTC ranged around 29,000 for 6 months and then shut up in late October. Was the fear level the same during that fiat period in 2023? Many think there is more fear now. I think there is maybe more fear now because price has gone up in Bitcoin. And some people have gotten into the miners at higher prices here recently. Whereas before, we were just going up in price prior to that. So I think maybe that's why we're seeing a kind of divergence there, or a little bit difference there. More Tim27, thank you so much for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see if Bitfarms hits 15-20 bucks, taking you to Kobe steak dinner, Seb. I appreciate that. Yeah. All right. I think I'm catching up with all you guys' questions here. Let's see here. Thanks, Seb. Appreciate you taking and sharing. Hard to swallow, but I guess that's the process of investing. Good night. Yeah, good night. Thanks, everyone. We're going to call it a day here because we're going on a little bit over an hour here, something. And I got to see what my wife wants. But yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Right now, Bitcoin, where's Bitcoin at right now? If we look at it, Bitcoin's down just 1.41%, still at the same line where it was earlier when we started the video. So not much is changing there at least, so that's good. We'll see where it ends up at. But, we'll see what reports tomorrow. We'll see where things go. It might be a little bit more painful in the short term for September before we start going up. Fingers crossed, hopefully. We'll see. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for coming in. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. All right.